something you don't mean. I'll agree so we can keep this fake thing going on, going on. Like a dimming light, we lose our shine. We always break before we bend. We say we were right, but in the end we'll fight, we'll fight, we'll fight. And I can't fall asleep if things go unsaid. And we can't call it off, cause we're afraid to be alone again. Goodbye. Should I say how I feel? Should I say how I feel? Fine. See you on the outside. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Constantly changing my mind. Feels like I'm burning inside. Will it ever be different? Will we always be distant? 'Cause something that I need to tell you. Maybe we can do this together. Grab my car, let's go for a ride, yeah. We don't need to try. 'Cause something that I need to tell you. Maybe we can do this together. Grab my car, let's go for a ride, yeah. Thinking you will cry. Thinking you will cry. Thinking you we don't need to try. Thinking you will cry. Silence is better with you. Violence disappears when you're next to me. I don't know what it means. I got something that I need to tell you. Maybe we can do this together. Grab my car, let's go for a ride, yeah. We don't need to try. Got something that I need to tell you. Maybe we can do this together. Grab my car, let's go for a ride, yeah. Thinking you will cry. Thinking you will cry. Thinking you will. We don't need to try. Thinking you will cry. Thinking you will. We don't need to try. Thinking you will cry.
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. Darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation.
I wanna make your heart ignite. Oh, roses. I walked in the corner with the body screaming dolo. Never sold a bag but look like Pablo in a photo. This gon' make him feel the way like Tony killed Manolo. You already know though, you already know. I walk in the corner with the money on my finger. She might get it poppin', I'm my wife for the winter. I already know, got roses. All I need is turn up, baby, turn on when I turn it on. You know how I get feeling when I turn it on. Can't know my behavior when I turn it on. Too fast if I ask to the left on last, I've been through it all. All I need is roses. 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 I know you won't tell nobody, no. I know you won't tell nobody nothing. I'ma pull a flexing on these guys like aerobics. I'ma tell you, girl, you Cupid ballin', that shit gorgeous. Standing on the table, rose, rose, fuck the waters. You know who they turn up, baby, turn on when I turn it on. You know how I get feeling when I turn it on. Can't know my behavior when I turn it on. Too fast if I ask to the left on last, I've been through it all. All I need is roses.
Hello everybody and welcome to the second ever episode of Hashtag One Shot. I am joined this evening by my co-host Mr. Delray Delicede and the one and only, the cosplayer giraffe, or maybe he is a real giraffe in disguise, we're not quite sure, Mr. Nick Holden. How's everyone doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing, Trati?
Pretty good, man. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited that we got you as our first guest, man. How are you feeling, Mr. Delray?
I'm good. It's about time we had a little chat with Nicholas over here. Just pick his brain, and I know the whole CODZA wants to pick his brain as well. So, it's going to be a good episode. Not as long as the previous one, because I think with those tier lists, we went back and forth quite a bit.
Indeed. Well, then we might as well just have a quick touch on the schedule for the evening so that we can keep everyone in the loop. So right now, obviously, we're going to have a couple of questions thrown at Mr. Nick, and you guys in the chat have to be very kind, as we're going to get through our questions, then you have to wait your turn nicely, and then we'll be opening it up to you guys. Then we're going to be looking at the current Call of Duty competitions that are running, which is the throwback. That's the biggest one at the moment, at least. And we're going to be talking about that. Grand finals and things are up on the horizon. And then to sort of end things off, round it off a little bit, we will be going over the team rosters that have just been announced. So yeah, without further ado, how's everyone doing? And actually, I'm going to add a little interject there. We need to check audio. Can everyone hear everyone correctly?
1, 2, 3. Can everyone hear us? Audio mic check. Guys, it's also nice to be able to sit under you guys for the first time. I mean, usually the perspective is a little bit warped. I'm usually the one looking down. So, hey, what's up, guys? How we doing?
But in all fairness, even sitting there, I'm pretty sure you'd still be a head taller than us if you were on top. So, yeah. I mean, it's a good role reverse, a little bit of a change in pace, I'd say.
Yeah, I love talking about who's on top and who's below. It's one of my favorite topics on One Shot.
Fair enough. Well, we're not here to upset everyone. that was crazy. Okay, just chat. Just let us know, is the audio levels correct? Are they loud enough? That's important. Because we've got to be able to hear every single word that Nick says so we can hold it against him.
It's usually how it goes, right?
Exactly.
So tell me, guys, tier list, I hear you mentioning in terms of Call of Duties. Where did my beloved Modern Warfare 3 go?
Oh, we just did rosters, eh? We didn't do...
Okay, you just did roster. You didn't do games.
Yeah. No.
Okay, but listen. I saw a little tweet yesterday or the day before, and it was from CDL themselves saying if you could rank since the CDL has started, we had three games. It was Vanguard, right? That has just passed. It was Cold War and Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Between those three, if you could rank them, which game would be the best?
Out of Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, and Vanguard.
Yeah.
Cold War number
Since
one.
CDL has happened.
Cold War number one, Modern Warfare 2019
Vanguard.
2, and then Vanguard.
I'm doing a flip just with 2 and 3, just because Modern Warfare in terms of spawns was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
That game spawns was just broken. It's like nobody put in effort, nobody fixed it. So that's why I'm gonna do the same pick. I'm just swapping 2 and 3.
Oh, fair enough. And yourself, Delray?
Yeah, I'll go Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Vanguard. I wish there was 1, 2, and then 20, and then I'll put Vanguard over there.
Yeah, but
I don't know. At the beginning of the game, obviously it's new and everyone is getting into it, and you know, and it's fun and all. But the game just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't fire CODZA up. It didn't keep us engaged.
No, definitely. But also, if we're being honest, Modern Warfare 2019 and Vanguard, or rather Vanguard is just a reskin of Modern Warfare 2019, eh? Everything. Literally just felt like the same game with a little bit more colors and in the World War II setting, if I'm being honest.
Well,
Yeah, I like Cold War. I like Cold War. Like I said, Vanguard. I think the thing with Cold War, I always love the kind of Treyarch spin on things. It's just the color, the vibrance. When you like played that game at first, for me, the memorable moments are within that first 2 months where you're like, what kind of game is this? I think even from the beta into playing, it was really, really cool. Vanguard didn't have as much as that feeling, in Modern Warfare I think even less so, in my opinion. But yeah, it just didn't feel like there was enough advancements. I mean, we talk about advancements, it's like, cool, we're going back to old World War. It's like at least Cold War stood out in some of its like aesthetics, but I don't necessarily think Vanguard stood out in that way. It was purely, I don't know, it was nitty gritty, but it didn't really feel like it was different in any way.
I agree.
We have to remember, right, that with Modern Warfare, most of us were playing console still. You know, everyone made the transition to Cold War on PC and so forth. So, but now if you go back to Modern Warfare and you play on PC, I must say the game feels really nice.
It's very different. I will agree.
Totally different. Still vibrant. I don't know. Vanguard. For me, the question I'm going to ask you guys as well is, what makes or breaks a Call of Duty for you? And for me, I'll give it to you straight up. It's the maps.
Yeah, I like that. I like the maps, and I think that's something that Nick mentioned a little bit earlier. Spawns and the ability to manipulate spawns shows the difference between a really good team and a sort of mediocre team. And it really felt like Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2019 absolutely just pulled the rug out underneath from everyone. And it was just, you couldn't do that. You know, it was just unbelievable. Every now and again, someone would just spawn in a weird spot, then the flip is in. I don't know. I couldn't stand that.
I think it's, for me, it's like, it's a timeline, because I mean, we play Call of Duty usually in traditional years, but when it comes down to that timeline, maps is your first introduction and going, cool, this game, I'm enjoying the maps, I'm having fun. Then it gets a little bit more nuanced and you go towards weapons and you go, okay, how's the balance with these weapons? Is everybody just running around with one type of weapon? Because then that gets really annoying at that point in time. So, and also our kind of, dare I say, our forgiveness of the title dips after a period of time. If we're feeling that like 4 months in that the weapon balance isn't great, then we're kind of like, you know what, they don't really care about this game at this point in time. If we're 4 months in and there's like spawns haven't been picked up in comp, we're usually a little bit more forgiving. We're like, okay, give it a couple of weeks and they should fix that. But if that's not even done after 6 months, you're like, okay, nobody really cares about this game from their side of things. So playing from the beta, I think, I mean, I got to play like 3 hours before that timer ticked down. I think I got like 4 games. But I like the maps. I had some fun on the maps, but it's like judging the full catalog by only a little bit of a taste. You can't really do too much with that. So we'll see. We'll see. Modern Warfare 2, everybody. It's on the way. I'm excited.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can go, Charles.
That actually sailed nicely into the first 2 questions that we were going to ask you. So we were going to ask about your thoughts on Vanguard, and you've already given it to us, and everything like that. And Modern Warfare, those are the nice 2 lineup there. The next one which is really important for us because going into Modern Warfare, and everyone has their 2 cents, and we've never really had the opportunity or a platform for a tournament organizer to really answer this question. What is the ideal setup for a tournament for you guys? It's every time it's what does the community want? What does the community want? What works the best? How can the community get what they want? But in terms of being a tournament organizer, what is your best setup for a tournament?
Best setup is on launch immediately that we've got LAN settings. I think further from that there's comp settings built into the game almost immediately, making sure that we've got CODCaster so we can broadcast this effectively and it's not glitchy. I think further from that, if the comp settings are well rounded and well thought of enough that we need as little, I mean, we'll never have GAs, but I mean, as little as that coming from the community. Unfortunately, I don't see that being a realistic opportunity at this point in time, just because the amount of variation that we have in terms of weapons with the current weapon system, which I don't think will ever change. Seemingly from Call of Duty, it's like they decided as soon as they moved away, like from picking an attachment or a couple of attachments, an overkill, then to this huge new kind of rebuilt gun system. So from a TO perspective, I think it's LAN functionality, competitive settings, and competitive rounded modes. I mean, nobody wants to be sitting in February going, do we really want this as our third game mode? Like, nobody wants to be having that discussion. We want to get into it. We want to know exactly what we're playing. We want to make sure that those maps are integral as a part of COD, because when it comes down to grinding and learning these maps, is nothing more frustrating, as some of these pro players have experienced from their side of things, is that you learn nade spots, you learn rotations, you learn basically where people are spawning. You pick up all of that, and then a map gets kind of taken out of rotation. You're like, what's the point of that? So there's that. Then there's also the longevity in terms of the game itself. I think we're sitting in, for the first time, a little bit of an unprecedented scenario of 2 years potentially for the next COD. I know that there's some rumors in terms of changing that to 1, and there's another title coming out, but that might be a remaster, people are saying, of the old Modern Warfare 2, and it's just going to be a bunch of new maps, which I don't mind. There's a lot of things from a competitive side I wish we had out of the gates. To be honest, I wish we just had a competitive COD. Never mind anything else. But yeah.
Yeah, well, just
those
to,
are things.
to touch on exactly what you said is, the league at least starts way earlier this year, right? They announced their first tournament to happen in December, and that's what, a month away from when the game launches. So I think on the one aspect where you said that the game comes out, competitive settings there, the maps are there, the modes is there, and that we don't ask, what's this going to be and what's that going to be. So in that aspect, it looks like they're going the right direction, but the longevity is the problem to me. And how are they going to juggle the 2 years? Is there going to be 2 champs? Is there going to be and as a TO, is going back to the first question we asked, is what makes or breaks the game or Call of Duty for us, and that comes down to the TOs as well. If the TOs isn't there for us to keep pushing us to play, and there's tournaments and prize pools and something to play for, and there's competition, then people are going to stay and they're going to be there. But if there isn't, they just going to fall away, even if it's a good COD.
But that comes at a double-sided sword, which leads us to the next question. It's great and all that the TOs are there and they're trying to push, but in order to do that, they need the financial backing, whether that's sponsors or anything like that. And recently, one of your most successful campaigns obviously was the C3ZA with Predator. Now, to propose something to you, what would CODZA specifically have to do to get more eyes on it? Because I've had the privilege of casting some other games recently with ACGL, that being Fortnite and Apex, and they've got a lot of eyes on them. How can we get Call of Duty to get that level of sponsorship again? Because I know that it had it at a stage. What does the community itself have to do?
It's twofold, right? I mean, we talk about old days of Call of Duty having that sponsorship at that stage, but it's really the whole model when it comes down to tournament organizing has changed quite drastically, where as it wasn't actually up to sponsors to be able to facilitate the funding for these things, it was down in part to the publishers. So when it came down to them having prize pool or having some kind of impetus to be able to grow that community, that model changed quite drastically to where this was this sponsorship and marketing phase. And since they committed everything in terms of their CDL, that's where the funding goes. So sitting outside of that space, we don't get funding. So it's highly basically highly stringent or reliant rather on sponsorship. Now, when it comes down to getting sponsorship, I think Call of Duty has proven itself, at least in some of the campaigns that we've done, to show that there is a community.
Yeah.
There's a community that's talking, and we've got an opportunity now with based off of stats of what we had from C3ZA, but also additionally in terms of we've got an opportunity to rebuild after this COVID period. Because I mean, the question's going to come up about lands. We'll get to that in a second. But the question about rebuilding our community is going to be very, very vital at this point in time. I see, in terms of getting people together, seeing one another, that's what keeps the community kind of sticking together. I mean, when we were having the height of kind of Call of Duty, we had 40 teams on each platform. It was PlayStation and Xbox,
Yeah.
but they were seeing one another. They were playing with one another, whether that was small tournaments, and it wasn't so stringent in terms of going, we need a 10,000 Rand prize pool. Oaks were competing for like vouchers just to hang out and play LAN for a weekend. Oaks would drive down from Joburg. So it's like, how do we create those communities in each one of these spaces? I don't necessarily think, and this is why we created the minor lands all the way back in 2018.
I-
Yeah, minor
yeah.
lands was the concept to be able to have a land that took place in Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban. And I think there's a route for us to be able to have that, and who knows, even further from that, hopefully. But how do we bring that together, and how do we act as a community? I think it's just doing that, being able to facilitate community activations as much as possible. Some things are going to be more expensive, right? I mean, if you want to fly up to, for example, Joburg or down to Cape Town, or depending what side you're going on, those things are very, very expensive. But how do we facilitate more regular competition on a localized level is also going to be quite important. Whether that's a 2v2 hangout LAN and seeing people, or it's a 5v5 scrimmage, or whatever that is. I think I can't wait to see people again, man. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
community again. I mean, it's one of the things I miss the most. It's like Call of Duty. We used to have the banter. We used to have those epic moments. People would get yellow carded for what they did at times. But it was cool. It was a community, and we got to know each other. And I think that keeps us sticking around as well. Because honestly, we probably all have made friends throughout the space.
Yes.
In terms of Call of Duty, and it's, for me, that would have been a very cringe thing to say when I was like 19 or 20. I was like, ugh, made friends again. But that kind of model, I think, has changed, and I think it's pretty much normalized these days. And I think it's something that we want to hang out with our mates a bit more. But also, there's a competitive edge. We want to be able to prove ourselves a bit more. So, I think let's use that energy of what we have as a community, that hunger, and then when we have the opportunity to drive it, let's push it. But also, I do say that with the asterisks of just make sure that you're doing your checks in place and making sure that you're backing the right initiatives, because that passion can sometimes be directed in a self-destructive environment at times as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm reading now what Clint says in stream as well, and
Mr.
Mr. Clint, and the people that don't know him, he's been around for very, very, very long. The main man at Vinco. I wish that's another brand that I wish can come back, as playing under that brand was at EGE was just insane. Yeah, like Nick said, if you go back, I can just think about the Trenchtown lands. Man,
Yeah.
that was it was a dodgy area, but as soon as you get in there and you're around all your mates and new people, meeting them, you just together and having fun. And those minor lands, listen, at the beginning of those minor lands, I thought, listen, yeah, we're splitting the community in three now. You got Durban, Joburg, Cape Town. How's this thing gonna work? But actually, it worked perfectly. Like, we had so many teams in Cape Town, Joburg, and in Durban, Joburg, whatever.
I think there was one in
But-
P. There was PE.
There
and
was one in PE,
Durban
yeah.
as well.
There was one in PE, yeah, you're correct. And it was really nice just seeing everyone come together. The social media was going crazy. Everyone posted them doing this, and it was the handshakers, if I'm not mistaken. Was it handshakers?
No, hand warmers.
What's it? Hand? No,
Uh,
man.
warm.
The
hold
team's
on.
name. The team's
Oh,
name
oh,
that
okay,
won the
okay.
Joburg.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but just having fun and making a team and rocking up, but that's the one thing we're missing. We have so many players in CODZA right now, the new faces, right? That has never played a LAN before. They don't know how it feels.
That's
they
the best.
they literally new to it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Look, I'm new. I only got into casting and meeting everyone in 2019, right, when Modern Warfare came out, when I came over from Xbox. So I never had this opportunity. What you guys are talking is like giving me goosebumps. I'm so jealous I missed out, Like, that's all we want. And I think there's a lot of people that are looking at it and thinking they'll take any opportunity at LAN, like whether it's the local LANs or whatever it could be. I think people are just dying to have a competitive Call of Duty again because, like, I don't care what anyone says. If you listen to any big streamer, any big like social media presence in the gaming scene, they're always like, I started on Call of Duty. Like that's the standard line is, where'd you come from? Oh, I started on initially like multiplayer, Modern Warfare 2, whatever, and then from there they just take it off. So I think that if we could get back to that, it would be so awesome, especially in a place like South Africa. I mean, it's like, but load shedding. That's another topic for another day.
The other thing I want to ask you, Nick, is how difficult. Okay, with us being on console back in the day, it was easy. You rock up with your console in your backpack, your monitor, you set up and you play. Yeah. Now with everyone on PC, it makes everything a bit more difficult, right?
Definitely, and it also means that, I mean, I can show you my PC. I don't feel nearly as comfortable taking my PC as I would a console into spaces, and even my monitor. So it does make it a little bit more tricky. Oh, yes, but I think it's so easy to stay at home these days, but I urge community, and we'll get into it in a bit, if these opportunities do arise, go for it. Like, pack your PC, bubble wrap that thing, put it in a box.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, make sure that you have some friends that you can go with. I don't know what it is, but just, like, try it, guys. LAN is so cool. It is the adrenaline. You can probably speak to a player like Lithium, right? He probably doesn't get adrenaline anymore when it comes to online competitions, but going to LAN, guarantee you that feeling's coming back. Going to LAN with all these players, that's definitely coming back. That feeling is the best.
Yeah, if there's one guy that I can, if you just the word adrenaline, I can think of Waffle.
Yeah.
Man, the Ryan just absolutely going crazy. Even if he like turns on someone, gets a 2-piece, 3-piece, like just that feeling about everyone that is around each other after your tournament. You go out, have a bite to drink, eat, and have a drink, and then the next day it's Saturday and you got Champ Sunday. So for those people that maybe there's a LAN around the corner, and if you can go, it is something totally different than sitting behind your desk at your house.
But it's even experiencing, and I know we talk about the highs and the elation of LAN, but experiencing the bad part, like when you sitting there and you've got like 0 and 10, experiencing that is so important. So you know that feeling of like, oh, I'm down now, and get used to that terrible feeling of being terrible at LAN. You know what I mean? Get used to that, because if you can figure out what your turning point is in that feeling, or if you can figure out, okay, I've had this feeling before and I turned it around, or that is essentially what these players in the States and EU are so used to at this point in time, where they're like, you know what, cool, I got a 007 in terms of search and destroy, but I turn it back in the next game and actually just go on a crazy rampage or whatever that might be. It's so important to experience the good and bad as your experience as a COD player. It's really important, but not only as a COD player, it's actually quite important mentally. It's like mentally you have terrible times in your life where you're like, oh, this is really sucky, but you can bring it back, and it's the same kind of thing with COD. It sounds a bit preachy, but it is true.
Yeah, I'm just gonna revert back to talking about the engagement aspect of CODZA. Where obviously you guys host Apex, Fortnite, and mobile COD and all that other kind of stuff. Where does CODZA fall in between all of those with engagements on Twitter or on social media?
Yeah, I think a Call of Duty, especially with our community, I think other TOs don't necessarily have the direct conversation nearly as much as we do with the CODZA community, and I think that's where we push quite hard. It's still the community for me that I feel most connected to throughout my years. That's just because it's kind of where I came from, is when I was playing to becoming a TO and to all that kind of jazz. But engagement-wise, I think the community does well. I think we could always do better. Maybe that's the optimistic side of me, but at the same time, the thing that kind of sometimes disappoints me is that why hasn't anybody risen out of our community in terms of content creation of showcasing stuff? It's like showcasing the best places in comp to be able to do stuff. I preached this for years, and I still scratch my head. It's like, why don't we have that person yet? Why haven't we found that opportunity for these people to
And
stand out?
yeah, the perfect example would be, imagine Frosty back in the day at the age of 11 competing already. If he just decided back then, if he had like an, now you obviously wearing an Optic jersey over there and very jealous, but imagine he had a Hex type of, backing and saying, listen here, let's push out content, let's push out this and this and this and this.
But
Imagine how bigger that guy could have been.
well, it's actually all of us here, if we really want to be able to say that. I mean, for all of us that have been in this community this long, it's kind of going, we all have this on us. I mean, I tried to when I was doing stuff initially, and then I got caught up in work. Maybe that's me just making the excuses. But content was there and people were watching. There's so many channels now that you can make content in and actually try to push that out, especially for Call of Duty. And I'll use this as an example. Even in our team, we have some videos going out. They're doing really, really well. And it's just about Overwatch in terms of some of the characters. So think you don't need to go too crazy. Just think of basic needs of what there is and then try get that out there. But listen, it's not for everybody. Content game is bloody difficult at times.
It is.
But I still just wonder, why haven't we reached that person that you go, cool, when I think Call of Duty competitive, I want to get the best tips from this person. I want to get the best breakdowns from this person. If I want to think of somebody who's just funny and really doing some cool stuff in Call of Duty, we need to build these personalities. I think some people are trying to build it more and more. But I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more inside of the content space, because brands like content because it is something you point to directly and you go, look. I think in terms of being able to highlight with what we did with C3ZA, there's some really cool achievements from the Predator player of the match kind of thing, or the Predator moments, and there's some cool things we can point to. But listen, I think if there's more breakdowns with that, better. If there's more input from the community, better. I mean, from a social media perspective, I've got to say that I'm really, really chuffed with what the CODZA Intel guys are doing on that side of things. Or I think it's mostly just Helix. Was it? How many people is involved with that side of things?
Mostly Helix.
Yeah, mostly Helix, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. It's fantastic. It's really, really important to get those voices going out. And I think people go, oh, that person's doing it, so I might as well not do it. It's like, no. Be a voice as well. Be your own voice. Do what you need to. It's like, exactly. It's like more is more. It's the opportunities are there, especially considering a new game. If you want to get into content creation, there's so many ideas. Like, cool, these are the best weapons. These are the breakdowns. These are the head glitches. These are the power spot. Because I know if I want to watch a map in terms of going like, what are the head glitches on the map or the power points to be able to utilize, just to be able to get streaks, because everyone wants to be the first one to claim they've got a nuke. That's exactly what you want. So yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more.
You can go ahead and let's get down this list.
All right, so, but I like the conversation, man. It's so good. It's like listening to like literal titans in the community. It's crazy. Anyways, so along the lines of what the community can do and everything along those lines, and you spoke about funding. What is stopping ACGL asking for an entry fee for a year-long sort of league? Is that in direct competition with CDL, or is there something else along there that is a little bit more difficult to run?
There's usually tournament restrictions in terms of asking for an entry fee. To be honest, every time that we ask for an entry fee, if it's not a LAN, we don't get anywhere. We've tested these waters a number of times. People don't want to pay. If there is pay, then there's usually a lot more negativity around it, which makes it more difficult for brands to be able to get in. But to be honest, the expectation these days is become free to play. Puts a lot of weight on our shoulders. Believe me, if I joined this industry as a TO initially, and our kind of general competition, which at that point in time was DGL, was not free to play. I mean, you know, we could have probably made some cool bucks, but also supported this community a bit better as well at the same time. So there's models to be able to work around, but you really need to have a tight kind of bond with the community, which I think we do. I think we're still quite seen as a community-based organization, but ultimately, if it isn't an event I don't think people really want to be able to pay, in all honesty. And I know there's players here that are in high school. There's players here that are in university. The money's not easy to come by. We're paying what 1,200 rand for COD. We're paying 1,000 rand for fiber
Yeah.
per month. We're paying out our orifices as is. So yeah,
Every
man.
day.
So yeah, the thing is, and you just mentioned BGL, and obviously they went to VS Gaming and whatnot, and they out of the Call of Duty scene, and they ran a whole year season. Every Wednesday you play a game. There is pools. Then the top 12 qualify for the LAN at the end of the year. Is there something in that way that ACGL could go on? And with the entry fee, if we say, for instance, $500 per organization, so the organization buys a spot into ACGL's year-long league, and if they make changes and roster changes, the org keeps the spot. Is there could something like that maybe help or happen?
Yes and no. It just depends on, once again, the community guidelines for tournaments. I think for the most part, Activision doesn't really allow entry into series like that, especially if we're going to be trying to apply for licensing for our tournaments. But in terms of that model, absolutely. From an online perspective, obviously C3ZA is based around the group's Prem, and then Prem kind of competes on their own, and then that goes into another group's kind of knockout stage, and then Prem continues. So it's a very similar model in some ways. But now it's just about how do we attach more opportunities from a localized level to these things. So that's what we're looking to do. I obviously want to be able to do it more and more. Lands are much more expensive than online. Online we can have happen very, very quickly. But even $500 in terms of a season per team or per organization. I mean, $500. What are we looking at? 16, 32 teams.
If we could,
32 teams, we were looking at $16,000. It's really like, I mean, in the greater scheme of things, it's not as much as we actually
Yes,
need
it
to be able to
isn't.
drive from sponsorship and actually organizing this from a marketing level. It's a nicety, but it's not necessarily what's going to fulfill our prize pool demands, because we know as soon as it comes down to actually arranging almost a national scale LAN, people are going to expect at a minimum 30k prize pool.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Even if you look at back in the day, what we had 20k. I think we had 18k and 20k, and back then that was fine. Everyone was ecstatic for that kind of amount. But now you say 18 or 20, people are like, meh, whatever.
It's so
which is
depressing.
crazy.
It's crazy to see, but that's
For
I
LAN,
don't know.
understandably, in some ways, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you are paying. If
Good.
you're four
The
players that
flights,
are all
the
from Cape Town and you have to go up to Joburg, it's cool. I've got to pay for flights. I've got to pay. Maybe if I'm lucky, one of my mates I can stay at for the weekend, which is
Correct.
usually what everybody did. Then it's travel to and from, and we know petrol's obviously cheap at the moment. And yeah, so life is not getting cheaper, unfortunately. So I understand it. Our expectations as a community have risen, which is sometimes a good thing because we can lean that to go, cool, at least we're not competing for vouchers and just purely passion at this point in time. So there's a little bit of a step up in terms of professionalism, but at the same time, I don't think this is going to be sold by people paying for entry fees. I'd love it if it was. It would make everybody's life easier if it was like a 50 rand a month kind of thing and you were playing and da-da-da-da. But at the same time, we're probably discouraging really a lot of people in our community from playing because they know that they're going to just get smashed at the top end. So how about give them a nice opportunity to play, reward that to a certain degree, and then keep them as a part of the community. It's definitely been the thing that's worked in the past better than entry fees.
It's good that you mentioned that $50 a month thing, because I wanted to bring up, if anyone has ever played CS:GO and you play Face It, do you think anything like Face It would work for CODZA or Call of Duty?
The model can work to a degree, but once again, it does not necessarily bode well with our model. That's a purely online perspective, and I think the demand at the moment, even from online, is that people have better options. They just have better options. And face it, they might not have better options, or they don't have a cheaper option. And face it, in terms of its priority with its servers, works a little bit differently as well. They have hard costs in terms of being able to host servers that we don't have. I mean, as a TO, I don't have to host any Call of Duty servers, which is quite cool. And I even know in terms of the maintenance on those servers, in terms of a monthly fee as well as our overhead, it costs more to host a CSGO tournament than it does a Call of Duty tournament. So I think the model is just directly by that financial aspect different.
Okay. All right.
Well, that is
I get you.
a nice caveat there to talk about. You spoke about the community and how you want to support the lower end of things, and the Premier Bracket C3 as the model. What is ACGL's overall plan for Modern Warfare 2? If you could be so kind as to tell us, or at least allude to
Let
something.
me just turn my camera to the master plan that's on the wall right over there. It's just like, you know that guy, what is that meme with Sunny in Philadelphia? It's one of those dudes just on the wall, and I think this connects to this anyway. I think for us returning in a lot of ways to obviously more, I kind of said it without saying it, localized events more where possible. Finding partners in terms of operating partners across the country where possible for LAN environments. From an online perspective, keeping the consistency in terms of being able to provide regular tournaments. I think if anybody can say anything from TOs is that we've never dropped the Call of Duty community over the years. We've kind of stuck by you guys
Absolutely.
throughout, and you guys by us. And then further from that, just more overarching opportunities. Now, some of them will be bigger than others. Some of them obviously will be smaller than others. And it's so difficult to say without these things on a dotted line, signed, sealed, and delivered. But we do have some cool plans at the moment. It's not I'm not going to even pretend that it's a full year calendar plan. But I think C3ZA is the template from which we draw of keeping that regular play. I think at the end of last season, we said that C3ZA is coming back. It will come back. And we'll also try bode for more LAN opportunities across the board.
Okay, now the most loaded question that we are going to ask you for the whole night is, will we need to save the date for Rage?
Ooh, that is a tough one. Okay, so that is a tough one, but I've prepared my LAN question, okay? Number one, I think for Rage... yeah,
The
that's a
internet is
tough
forever,
question.
eh?
Okay.
The internet is forever.
Yeah, the internet is forever. Yeah, so let me just say this, guys. I am proposing to the Call of Duty community, it's an open-ended invitation on ACGL's Discord. I think that will be for Wednesday next week. So same time next week. I really need to have a serious discussion directly with the community, because there's some opportunity for us to do something as a community, but there's no point in me making an announcement or doing something, or in terms of our organization doing something at these events as far as ACGL, and we don't have a guarantee of people really wanting to do something or being able to. Or so I think we need to have a really realistic conversation, which is an open-ended invitation to everybody. Wednesday night, I think we'll be doing that at 7 o'clock on the ACGL Discord. So please join us. Came off of this. Really comes off of a meeting I had today, and there might be some opportunity for us to do something, but it needs to pass some minimum criteria as well. And I really need to gauge interest, and I need to gauge feedback. So let's have that conversation, and then let's see what we can do. Because I think Rage, there is opportunity there, but it's whether Nick and the ACGL family puts their head on a chopping block or not, which is a situation I almost always happy to do. I mean, you talk about a person that did that for me from the Call of Duty community was actually CS way back when. He organized me a PlayStation just so I could organize tournaments for that community. But it's the same kind of thing. Is that can we get a guaranteed way to get people there if we're going to do something like that?
So basically, the community stand by you, and you stand by us. Basically,
yeah,
what should
Mar,
we say?
the thing is, we haven't had this conversation in a while with the community. I mean, when was the last opportunity for us to play together? So,
yeah,
and
exactly.
inherently, I've got to be quite honest, there will be costs involved if we have to do anything. But it won't necessarily be... Anyway, we've worked out something.
Yeah.
So let's chat. CODZA, I'll see you in ACGL Discord Wednesday next week at 7.
Well,
You heard it here
it's exactly
first.
that. If you guys want to get the ball rolling, then cash speaks, cash talks.
Absolutely. But you heard it here first, everybody. There will be a meeting on Wednesday next week, in case you missed it.
A meeting of minds.
And we are going to be trying our best to convince the man, twist his arm a little bit, to show the interest that I'm pretty sure everyone in chat right now is more than capable of doing. So
Don't break my heart.
I saw Eddie was in the chat. Put a link to their Discord in the chat right now, so everyone can get involved if they are not already there. If you're not already there, you're doing something wrong. So, but yeah, thank you very much, Nick, for choosing this platform to let everyone know that there is a conversation in the works here. That's crazy.
No, it's a pleasure, man. I'll also drop a tweet out tomorrow just to say. Well, I'll probably ask the social channels to be able to do that as well. But yeah, it is a serious conversation because I mean, I wish everything was. I wish everything was clear cut. I wish I could just walk into a little bank there with a whole bunch of cash and just make things happen. But I've always believed in this community. It's a community I care deeply about, and I think our entire team does. That's the thing. It's like so much of our team loves this community. It's like Rafiki loves this community. Reggie loves this community. It's like Eddie's in chat as well. We've got a team that loves COD, and really feels super passionate about it. I mean, as much that was shown in C3ZA, it's like the team just got together. They started making stats. They started doing graphs. They started like everyone's like energy levels went up. But I want that on the reciprocating side. Is like from a player standpoint, is that can we drive these conversations? If people need time to talk to their families, I completely understand. If people need time to be able to go, cool, you know what, you can count me in, that kind of thing. Is that, and I don't. Please, not a count me in like a retweet on socials. It's like no,
Yeah.
It's
Like,
not a fart in the wind. You got to be serious.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right.
My last question to you, Nick, is just going back on the way back, where back to the good old EGE days.
Some argue good.
How much? Well, I'm going to talk about the bad before I speak about the good. How much did that hurt you and ACGL?
Big time, dude. So I'll be transparent. I think I've had this conversation on another cast at one point in time. So financially, it really hurt us. Anybody that knows, the players didn't get paid for that. We didn't get paid from that. To the point of, I think it was beginning of 2019. Yeah, well, it was the beginning of 2019 when or end of 2018, and Clinton and I were sitting at a table just looking at each other like, are we going to do this, man? I mean, like, things are rough right now. But we pulled through. I mean, perseverance kind of thing and all that kind of jazz. But it hurt us. But not just that. It made me so angry and a bit bitter in a lot of ways, to be honest. It's just, how could this happen? Like, trust, relationships that you build over the years, this community that you cared for, the over-delivery of expectations in terms of being able to provide and supply. Is that not like we're making bank, bro, on those kind of things? If anything, we're just sweating through blood, sweat, and tears to be able to make these things happen for the most part, especially at EGE. So it hurts, and it hurts in a big way that the players didn't get what they deserved. So it's probably the biggest mark of disappointment that I've ever had. Is like, and at the same time, I put some of that responsibility obviously on our shoulders. And it sucks. It still sucks to this day, but it is what it is.
I always say it was the one LAN tournament where I was ecstatic for our placement, but for no reward. It was the one tournament I enjoyed the most for absolutely zero reward, other than beating Energy Esports. So I'm just gonna put it out there again. But
it was a fun
Clint
event.
Remember that one? It was really fun.
Yeah, and I honestly, as far as work goes, I mean, what is that? 2018.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, 2018. That was my, what is it, second year of running an organization in terms of, I mean, we kind of went live in 2016. So there's a bit of naivety, lessons learned, all that kind of stuff from my side of things as well. Which has changed drastically since then. So
yeah, but just think about it. If for all the new people that has recently joined the scene this year, is just thinking about 2018, you had Metal State that was heavily involved with COD. You had VS Gaming that was also heavily involved with COD, and you guys. So we had basically three. Okay, well, Middle State wasn't really a LAN, was online, but we had basically two LANs that was a given. So to go from that to now we haven't had one for quite a while, and I keep telling Lee Java the last he's still the reigning LAN champion from 2019. That's the longest a guy has been a champion, and damn, just to think the last time we had something like that was 2019.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think the road ahead is hopefully a good one. Please, all I'm just hoping for is that LAN connectivity gets shown at the end of this month as an
Well,
option.
Next week, Friday, we're going to be finding out. That's exactly where it's going to. We're going to be
Yeah.
able to see these things.
Exactly.
So that's where it's at.
Exactly.
All right. So now's
Yeah.
the time where we open up to chat to see if they have any questions. There's already one come through from Eddie. He says, "What did it take to become a successful TO in South Africa? How do people stay positive and motivated during bad times, load shedding, etc., big events? So what does it take to be successful?"
Well, you can already see Nick. His hair is 50% less. He's been pulling them
I
out.
had a haircut yesterday, my friend.
Frustration.
Yeah, I think it's just honestly, this has been a job that I almost don't wish on anybody to be able to do, but at the same time, it's also been the most fulfilling job I've ever had in my life. It's so tough in a lot of ways, especially sometimes I say this, especially the way that we're doing it. But I think there's always these really massive highlights of like amazing potential in this country that you see either from players' success or you see it in like we've been dealing with this, especially in the last 3 years now in the high school and university space, seeing people that are so hungry and energetic, and I think that's what keeps you going. We've always been very, very grounded and hopefully as transparent as possible with our community in terms of how do we want to grow this? How are we doing this together? How do we see this as a movement together? And also being as accountable as possible, I think, has also been very important. So it's super, super tough doing it that way because I think there's so many people that could ride the train of esports being this big money spinner. And I think at the same time, you have to be very realistic with outcomes and expectations when it comes down to brands. And I think that's the only way we would ever do it. Because the way that we have to sustain this. It's like there's no point selling 12 eggs when you have 8. So from our side of things, we've gone through a lot to be able to try make sure things work. Now people dub us as a TO. I can tell you from that side of things, that's when we get to be a TO, that's great. But we do so much more than that people don't see. Whether that's an activation in terms of being able to do a mall activation, or being able to do a school activation, or just being able to do rentals, or like there's so much more to our model than is just a TO because we have to be. I mean, do you know what would be my dream? I kind of wish that I could have done this from the beginning of just running Call of Duty tournaments. Really, I would have loved just doing that. Maybe even doing just commentary or just do. But unfortunately, the realistic thing in South Africa, especially, is that we can't be specialists. We don't have enough community size to be able to sustain specialists. So it means that we've got to do everything. It means that we've got to learn how to do the tournament organizing, the administration, the financials, the marketing, the socials, the content generation. Then you've got to do some other jobs that you really don't want to do, or maybe you do want to do it, but it's just ways to be able to bring something in so you can make this whole boat a little bit more stable. So it's been a really, really tough ride, but I think through things that are difficult, you learn so many lessons that are invaluable, but also you learn about unique opportunity in a large variety of spaces. So it's been hard, but it's been a thing that I don't want to give up. I've always joked around. It's like my brother, for example, lives in the US. I could potentially go up and move and reroute. We joke around about these things at times, but I'm like, what do I want to do? I want to be able to make sure that this community grows, that my team grows as individuals and as a team,
Yeah.
and as representatives of what they do. And you know what? Some of them might stick with us, some of them might not. But being able to support them, whatever they want to be able to do further from that, I think is vitally important. And just seeing people grow. It's like we've seen so many cool individuals come out of the space. Whether it was, like for example, I know this is CS:GO, but Sonic was competing at one of
Yeah.
our MWeb tournaments way back when. Do I think he became a professional because of our MWeb tournament? Most certainly not.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to see these people become people and humans
Yeah.
and work, and like even seeing the youngsters. I mean, it disturbs me still to this day that I saw Frosty at my gym at Virgin Active, and he's a student and he's an adult, and it's like, no, you are still like
Yeah,
the
he is
13-year-old
still
Frosty in my head. But it's
Yes.
so cool to see these people grow and just become. So it's immensely rewarding in that regard of having a community, and then also taking a step back and going, shit, look how much we've catered and provided and been here for the community, and they've been here for us too. And I think that that's very, very rewarding in its own right, and also providing opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah, just for that, I think I speak for the community on saying thank you for sticking with us. Well, you part of us basically, so you know, if you leave us, we know where you live. But it's you know, it's a lot of a lot of TOs has stepped away, and you're one of the people that hasn't. So it's thank you in that regard,
Absolutely.
and I don't think the CODZA community say it enough. So yeah, thank you for that, Nick.
Thank you to all of you guys that also support us throughout the years. It really does mean a lot. And honestly, guys, this might sound weird, but from a TO perspective, do you know what's the coolest thing is, like, once we're done with a LAN and people pack away and they walk up and they give you a handshake and they say thank you afterwards, it actually
Yeah.
means so much to us. It's like it might be passed off as like, cool, thank you, I really appreciate it, but that means a lot. That interaction is so important. Being able to be like, we try when we even do like LAN cable management, be as neat as possible, keep the space as neat as possible. It's like we have that expectation of ourselves, and it's so cool when the community reciprocates that as well. And there's kind of like, we respect your space, you respect us, and there's that kind of like togetherness. And I think that also perpetuates itself in our lands, is that I think people that have been at variety of lands, is that when that ACGL lands, we know that there's a lot of respect shown between players. There's a fine line in terms of going what that banter line is. Yes, we've had people going, you know what, you should just allow people to say whatever they want, but no, I come from a background of you have to respect one another. Some people know the good old PRG, like porous gymnasium, all boys school thing was pride, respect, and gentlemanship. But it's the same kind of thing from a sporting and competition standpoint. It's like we want to have fun, we want to have a blast, we want to get in each other's faces, but at the end of the day, we want to be able to be appreciative of our competition, but also of one another.
Yeah, and I think that comes with land, right? And
Yeah, man, exactly.
I think that's why our community is the way it is right now. Is because we haven't been in a land, you know, we haven't met everyone. We didn't have a drink before. We didn't have yellow cards yet. We didn't say the wrong shit yet.
No fines, damn,
we-
missing out.
Like yeah, so much. But let's move along.
Yeah, we're gonna talk in circles here for hours, but that's crazy. Just the fact that listening to you guys talk is crazy to me. Actually, I want to be honest with you guys. It's unbelievable. Eddie put out a good point in the chat there. The preload is available, everyone, for the campaign.
Yeah.
If you have bought the game, you can download it right now. You can download it on the Battle.net or Steam. It's live. You go ahead.
Noise.
I'm sitting right here and I'm tapping away, just hoping it just opens up.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe tomorrow.
Quite.
We'll see. All right. So moving along with the
anyway.
schedule. We have a little bit of Call of Duty happening at the moment. We obviously have the throwbacks tournaments going on, hosted by Predator once more, and the Cold War 4v4 finished up, and it was Dogs of War that won that. But now, coming up on Sunday, load shedding permitted, there will be a stream for the grand finals of the Modern Warfare 2v2s. And if anyone is wondering, I can give you a quick breakdown of the teams that are left. It's going to be Dow MP, and that's Lithium, Maxi, and Rahil as a sub. Tumero, which is Bevan and Tucker. Zol X Cryptics, which is crazy enough Zol and Cryptic. And then we have Organic Wheatbix, Boy and Next Gen. Those are the last.
What a team name.
Yeah,
Right, whoever
so-
came up with that one, dude, that's really good.
Absolutely. So, what are you guys' predictions? You can be as biased or non-biased as you like. Nick, we'll start with you.
I'm gonna say Zol and Cryptics are gonna come out in third place. Then let's have a look here. I've gotta go to DOW. It's gotta be the team to take it for me. I mean, just too much experience on that side of things. I don't know. Tumero, Zol, they can either be second or third, and then I'm gonna put Organic Weed Bix. I'm sorry, guys, in fourth. But let's see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
It is a 2v2, so things
Yep.
can play out either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you totally off at all. I think Lithium is gonna come out on top again. I think Bevan and his buddy Tucker over there is gonna come in second, and Zol probably gonna come third, and that Organic Wheat Picks. Well, if it was a game for the creative names, you'd obviously win this, but Organic Wheat Picks will then take fourth.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm going to go with the exact same placement as that. Yeah, so we're sort of coming towards the end of the segments here, so we have two more things to talk about. The teams that have been announced for the season going forwards. One of the big ones that we have coming up here, I'll just share for you guys so you guys can see, is going to be the side of Monarch. They have just announced their new roster, so let's have a look and see what you guys think of this. I am sharing it in Discord if you want to have a look.
Yeah, so immediately when I saw this, so I think a week or two ago, before this tweet, there was an announcement of Josh Coates and some other team and some other org. It was obviously a troll, but when I look at this team, I feel like this team has what it takes to really compete for top 4, top 3, I could say.
I love it.
Just looking at, you have Coach, that great AR. He played with Spartan, and then he played with Monarch as well, I think last year or the last season. So Coach, a good one. Schemes, yeah, this guy has been around for quite a while, and he's quality player. And then you got Platty as well. So this team all around really looks balanced to me. So if they can get their head straight and, you know, play a good team game that I think this next card's gonna be, and not just running around and hopefully just getting good spawns. If they can play well, I think they can really put a fight for the top spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know Bassi from he used to play on World Stars. That's where I got introduced to him back in Modern Warfare 2019. Coach, like, going to any player that comes to mind in the scene, I'd say Coach is in there for me, the top 5, top 10. I do anything with him. Schemes I don't know too well, but like you said, he's been in the scene for a long time. Platty, look, I have known Platty longer than I've known like 90% of the community, simply because he was on Xbox. Him and another guy, Prodigy, they came over, and him and Prodigy were the only two players that I'll never forget that the PlayStation guys actually had respect for. They came over and they really like put up the sticks for the Xbox side of things, and I think that I really feel like Platty's one of the most underrated players in the scene, and I'm keen to see him make a mark next season. Of course, Drofter, the coach, he's been in every tweet I've seen in the last 2 weeks. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, like I said, I do think they can have it. They have what it takes, but it's literally going to come down on how they read the game. Because I feel like this game is going to need way more brains than Vanguard did.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. And Nick, what are you thinking?
I'm just excited that we're talking about teams going into Modern Warfare. It kind of feels like we're setting the table. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the stuff that gets me so excited about the season. I'm not going to pretend like I know everybody in terms of where they are in their competitive level. I've actually been a little bit out of it in terms of being able to be as connected to comp as I'd like. But I mean, looking at this order in terms of players, I know Coach, as you mentioned, with an AR, very, very solid. Schemes has been around. Basilisk is very, very solid in terms of, I think when I was watching him on Was it the C3ZA in terms of OBJ? He plays a little bit off, right? Is that right?
I can't remember.
You talking about Modern Warfare, or are you talking about the most recent one? Because I don't think he
Vanguard.
competed in the most recent one. I don't remember Bassi
Okay,
playing
then
Vanguard.
I'm a bit lost. Then I'm a bit lost. But I remember Basilisk, or it's somebody else with an XII at the end of their name.
I,
Yeah,
cou-
I
I
don't
cou- I
remember.
couldn't tell you.
See,
Couldn't tell you.
See,
So
I'm an
many-
OTOPy. I'm currently
So
going through
many
one of the other
players.
questions of who the top 5 best LAN people were of the generations. So I'm completely removed from this.
Yeah, that was a good question that I actually missed. Lithium said in the chat, top 5 most dangerous players you've met on
He
LAN.
would obviously be the guy that asks that. Like, that's the typical question that would come from him. But I think you can answer that quite quick, Nick.
Well, there's definitely some really, really, really good ones over the years. I've started writing down a list, but I don't think everyone's going to agree with my list. So Frosty's like definitely one of them. I mean,
Yeah.
he showcased all the way back into when we're in the Modern Warfare. I mean, not in the Modern Warfare, the M-Web tunnels.
Yes.
On that side of things, Keres is definitely another player that I think stood out in terms of LAN events. An absolute beast on that side of things. Then another Frosty. Some of you guys might remember
Oh,
Ash
yes.
Frostbite that represented as Xtaz when they went overseas
Yes.
to States. Pretty much the only player that got kills in the opening rounds, which was really, really impressive. Do you remember a player called Insane Tanker as well? Really solid with an AR for Team Insane.
He played, insane.
Yeah, he was always, always, always consistent from his side of things. Who else do I have here? I've got Cobbs. It's just a natural, and
Cobbs,
then
yeah,
Cerberus
natural,
as
yeah.
well. Really, really, really solid.
Inferno.
Ethan as well was really, really good at LAN towards the back end of his career.
Alton.
Yeah, Alton of course is another huge one. Inferno.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think once again, it's difficult to pick out everybody because there was some really good LAN performance, but consistency-wise, I think that's most of the list. Because I didn't really get to see Phobia he's by far one of the smartest players during my days, way back when.
And then we even had Drew back in the day.
Drewski as well.
Yeah,
Really, really solid.
Drewski.
And Morgan era.
Morgan, yeah,
Um,
he plays Apex and he plays literally everything now. So
Yeah, that man's still deep into his
Yeah.
gaming. So yeah.
no, and it's just every time I look back, I feel like where has everyone gone? And everyone is now what 25, 26 years of age. You know,
Still
getting
youngsters,
older.
man.
Now I'm just waiting for that next generation, the 15, 16-year-olds coming through. Like, where are those people? I want those people to come up and basically show the top dogs now. Listen here, you are nothing. We are the new Gen Zs, or what do they call themselves?
I don't think it's Gen Zs. I think it's millennials. No.
No.
Millennials.
Millennials I'm pretty sure, Nick, that you still the last bracket of millennial, and so are you, Del Rey.
Okay.
Gen X, or
Yeah.
Gen Zs. I think the most recent one is Gen Z. Or that's not correct.
Yeah, it is Gen Z.
But yeah,
You're
but,
right.
Okay,
but
It is
that,
Gen Z. It's millennials, then it goes Gen Z.
But that was an interesting point that you made there about how where are all these people? Like, let's just have a quick chat about the CDL as the last point before we go to the last. Seeing as like Crimsix is just retired, right? And I see you sporting a nice optic badge there. He made a very interesting. There's a clip of him going around on Twitter about how he said that it's pretty much Scump and what's the
Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks. They're the guys holding it up, That for CDL. Do you think that if Scump had to turn around and say, "Listen, this is my last season," it's going to be the Obis for CDL? Do you think that he has that much power in the scene?
No, I don't think he's going to go into content and it's going to be COD related. He's not just going to go away and do nothing. Yes, it's going to be a big hit, but again, there's still going to be eyes and people are still going to be watching him, and he's still going to be watching COD and watch parties, going to LANs, and so I don't think it's gonna. It lives and dies with him. So even though he's a big name, so
I don't think it lives and dies, but once again, it really does speak down to the problem of the narrative really sucking at this point in time. And the narrative has always been determined by Optic Gaming from when this started.
Or phase.
Before this was CWL. It was, I mean, before it was CDL, it was CWL, and then it was the Call of Duty Championships. And Optic Gaming, you would see such crazy surges in viewership. I'm glad that FaZe is getting back in there in terms of also competing at that level in terms of being able to spike viewership. But it almost would be a tournament killer unless they did. Literally, they organize their tournaments behind doing Optic Gaming as basically the last match of the group stages for the day, or the last matches of the bracket of the day of that section. So I don't think it dies with him. I think there's just an opportunity once again for people to really build narratives about these teams that needs to be done. Really, really needs to be done, and I hope it does. So
Absolutely.
we're in the quiet now before the storm, and I think it's going to be very telling over this next season because Call of Duty has been given a little bit of a respite. In some ways, thanks to COVID, everything's been online. But now going back into the LAN environment, it's time to start building, and I hope that they've got a solid content outline in terms of the way people can connect to the narratives, because the human stories are still the most important.
And the one thing that I really want or want to happen again is that there was always an Optic versus FaZe or an Optic versus Envy. It was always those big clashes where if I was an Optic supporter, I hated FaZe supporters, and vice versa. You know, so we need also the villain, or that Crim6 was, and so we need someone like that. We need the hero, and we need the rivalry, where I don't really think we have too much now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it might just because this is page one in a lot of ways. The whole previous season was a bit of it's a bit wish-washy in some ways, because we've gone through this transition, as I mentioned, from physical environments or online only to physical environments. This is the first Call of Duty on this new segment that is going to be completely its own, and it's got to be its own for 2 years. So
Yeah,
it's scary in some ways. This could be the Call of Duty that either accelerates it or decelerates it completely.
The make or
Either way.
break. The make or break for
we'll
COD,
have to
eh?
wait and see.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay, well, last thing for the night, guys. It's going to be another announcement that happened today, like out of the blue. We weren't actually planning for it. And it's going to be Echo Wolf's roster, which is going to be Donny, Ares, Rosier, Smiles, and X2. I only know Donny. Everyone else is a little bit new for me, so I don't have much of an opinion yet.
Same. I have no clue. So we'll have to wait and see. With the first tournament, that will be hopefully hosted by the man down here, with a beautiful prize pool, right, Nick?
100%. And one thing I can just say to Echo Wolf, you have one job at this point in time, and that's to get Exu a Twitter account.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't exist. Man, doesn't exist. That is crazy. But yeah.
Exactly. Last thing, maybe let's have a little. Yesterday, a lot of tweets went live about some updates of Modern Warfare 2, and when it drops. I firstly want to bring up, if you can, the
images.
specs.
Specs.
Go to the
Okay.
go to those images and bring up those specs, just to show you guys. I'm looking specifically at that competitive area. And I mentioned it just before we went live. Just to think that your recommended competitive GPU is a 3060 Ti by now to just get you about 144 frames. That's mad.
That is crazy.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to be running a competitive specs. I'll be there
You're
maybe at
going 4K.
recommended zone, and still on a 60 hertz PC or 60 frames monitor.
Yeah, so there's everyone to see. If you want to play 4K, that's what you're basically going to be running with competitive recommended minimum. Your minimum is probably going to fetch you your 60 FPS. Less than 60. I think recommended was 60. Your competitive is 144, and if you're playing 4K, you're definitely not worrying about FPS.
Yeah, well, you want at least 60. I think that's the benchmark for all games at this point. Like, that's what everyone aims for at the bare minimum.
Yeah, and then we had this little chat yesterday where the whole CODZA went crazy. Me including, was that picture of when of the world map showing when the game will be live, and I sent it to you as well. Oh, but you can
Yeah, I'm
check
gonna
it out.
look for was they posted. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they replied. To it.
Yeah, or
Yeah. It's on that picture. Go to that
it's on this
picture.
one. No, well.
Yeah,
No, the
just
thing
below.
before it, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Just to look at that picture, if you can bring that up for us. Basically, we don't exist, right? We're just there, but we don't exist. But that's when the game launches, and I think we are GMT +2. So if London comes out at 5 in the morning, we are at 7 in the morning. I'm right.
At current standings, yes, we are. No, I
Yeah,
think it's
current
actually 6 for us at the moment. I think we're only 1 hour
Is it
ahead.
6?
1 hour ahead for their winter schedule. So I think that it's only
Okay,
1
so-
hour ahead.
6 a.m. we will be live, and we will be running camos. And speaking about camos, if you can bring up that image for us.
Yes, sir.
If you're a camo grinder, good luck. That's all I can say. I'm one of those that loves the dark matter, and there's something more than just dark matter to play for this time around. But if you look at the weapons, 30, I think 39 or something. Yeah, there it is. Look at all those 10 assault rifles, 4 battle rifles, submachine. Look, it's the biggest grind you're gonna have in your whole COD life. Trust me.
And it's
It,
sorry, you're
it's
saying Nick?
crazy.
No, I was just gonna say about balance. It's just that's my biggest concern. It's like not necessarily the skins. The aesthetics are cool. Always think there needs to be aesthetics, but I just think the balance of every single one of those things has to be good enough to be able to filter into competitive before GAs. So, like, I just start thinking of like a red marker on each one of those
Yeah.
like things. That's GA'd. That's GA'd. That's GA'd.
Now,
That's GA'd.
just saying that, Nick, do you think a ban and protect system would work here?
I love ban and protect. I thought it was a cool little thing that got introduced. And you know what? When people actually used it, like ban something completely
Yeah.
like that throws everybody
stock.
off. Yeah, like stock. Or if you threw in a dead silence ban there or something like that. You know, it's like people were like, oh sure, but now we have to change our tactic. Or what was the previous one where you could sprint for longer, like lightweight or something like that? But imagine just banning
Double
that out.
time.
Like
Yeah.
it changes your tactics completely. So if you know you're up against a team that just rushes really heavy and you take a little bit of their movement out of spawns, it means that you've got a little bit more time on hill and you can play. So I love that kind of strategy behind it. But yeah, for weapons, in all honesty, I kind of still wish weapons were made much more simplified. Give me a red dot sight and a weapon and a grip, I'm pretty much happy.
yeah.
I'm terrible.
And you just saying that we mentioned it on the previous one-shot episode, is that the main menu or this whole building mechanic of the weapon is just crazy. I
It's
think
too much, man.
They
It's
gone
really-
too far. If we go back to Black Ops 2, it was main menu. You had rank play, multiplayer, custom, exit.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. And if you wanted to build a weapon, there was your weapon. There wasn't upgraded MP40. There was an MP40, and there's your attachments and done.
Okay, I'm actually going to ask a question to the chat at the moment, and I'd love to be able to hear it. Actually, maybe I should post this on Twitter too. But it is, I think, a decent enough question. Is like, would you prefer simple weapons? And what I mean by simple weapons is cool. You choose your sight, and maybe you can change like a stock or an extended stock for an extended mag, or you can change like your reload speed using faster, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or do you want to have the complex weapon building system like there is at the moment? Because
10 attachments.
I can tell you from my side of things is like if I'm out of comp side of things for like 3 months or whatever it is, I'm gonna just get back in and be like, I don't even know what to pick anymore. It's like unless you're on top of it every single day, it's like nobody wants. Maybe it's just me. I really don't want to put in fucking. I just want to play the game, man.
Yeah,
Why
no.
are you making me put in all my batteries? Make me spray paint this thing, and then I've got to.
Yeah.
Common makes a very good
That's not
point. Though.
allowed.
He says because of Warzone and the. So I actually saw the stats. The stats were out the other day. I think Activision makes like 4 times the amount every day from Warzone that they do from sales from all of the other franchise or game full releases that they ever have. You know, so like Warzone is definitely their child. So
I
think
that. I hear that, but I think the biggest thing that they need to do, and I've said this since day one, is cool. Why is the Warzone model working? It's a free-to-play game with in-game cosmetics that you're paying for. Great.
Yes.
Let's make a competitive Call of Duty that is free to play. You pay for your cosmetics, you support your teams, there's a whole bunch of drops, and that's what you play. Why is mobile Call of Duty actually doing so well? It's because it's doing exactly that, and you get to play all the coolest maps. What?
Yeah.
What's happening? What
Just
what
look
are
at
we doing
Overwatch
here?
2. Look
Yeah.
at Overwatch 2. They changed completely,
Yeah.
right? And they tripled their player base right now. So,
Yep.
yeah. And again, if you just in South Africa, if you launch Modern Warfare multiplayer right now, you
For
find
free.
S&D, you find anything,
Yeah.
right? And people have that game because of Warzone, because the weapons this. And for me, one thing I want them to, just because Warzone 2 is coming out, they must delete Warzone 1, delete Modern Warfare, delete all the other CODs, just for COD today, please, because that's gonna make people buy this game.
Just delete it off their servers.
Yeah,
But
just
can you
delete it off
can you
their
imagine
system.
what it would do to the game base if Modern Warfare 2 was free? If it was
Yes.
free,
Yes.
it would change everything. It
It
would be
would.
the only shooter people would be playing, as far as I'm
Absolutely. It
concerned,
would.
because
Yes.
everyone. It's the game everyone knows. It's like synonymous of gaming. It's like if you talk to an Otopie, they'll know FIFA and they'll know Call of Duty, and that's about it.
Yep. Yep. And maybe Battlefield.
But
Well,
Battlefield
Back-
not.
very
back
slow.
in my day.
With a very
Yeah.
slow play.
But yeah, no, but that's a. It's sad to see that the model works, and they have a model running currently that is working in the sense of free to play, but they still don't decide to do that with their other interests. It's just, it's
know
hard
what
for me
the-
to. Yeah, sorry.
No. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I should apologize. But what I was just saying is that their biggest thing is at the moment is that they put a lot of production value into their campaign. Fair enough. I think the campaign should be like a massive download that's honestly like $500. And that's what you pay. You pay for the campaign, you play it, you
Yeah.
really enjoy it. It's a story, it's a narrative. It's like playing Last of Us. Nobody plays
Yep.
Last of Us to shoot their friends.
Yep.
We play
Exactly.
Last of Us to enjoy the narrative and to have a really cool experience. Give us that. You guys are good at doing that on occasion. Um,
Asterisks.
but honestly, no, some of the campaigns are really sick. I love
Yeah.
honestly like sitting on a campaign and playing on veteran mode is a lot of fun. And make that cross pollinate with maybe skins, or maybe just don't, because that's where they get too confused at points in time. But I think the big thing there is if you separated it, they would actually make more money. They then rely less on it being a top-heavy title in terms of cool, because it has multiplayer and it has spec ops and it has zombies and it's got a campaign. It's like, no, people want to play their line, and there's people that play Call of Duty only for zombies. But that's where they're trying to leverage. But I think if they can double back, they'll find that they'll get more players for everything if they opened up those doors a little wider.
Absolutely.
And
No.
hopefully they hear this and
Yeah.
someone can clip this and
Yeah,
act them and
Activision.
go crazy.
Activision, listen to us.
South Africa, the one that you left off the map, knows better than you. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
know,
exactly
I don't know
that.
if that's going to go down too well.
Exactly that. But the one last thing is just looking at these weapons and all that you have to do. There's the camos I sent you as well on at the background there. You have that one. It's gold, platinum. That's just what they're gonna call it. Shattered Dark Matter Ultra Space Camo. But the actual names down there is gold, platinum, and the rest is for English people.
Polyatomic and Element. Orion is also there, Del Rey, if you want to
Thank you very much.
learn the modern tongue.
What?
Polyatomic.
Polyatomic and Orion.
Orion. I'd say
Orion.
Orion.
Onion.
Yeah, I'd probably
Onion,
go
yes,
with
onion.
Orion.
That's its new name. Dubbed right now.
100% grinding for that onion skin.
Exactly.
So exactly, you see. So at least I hope they sick. I haven't seen pictures, but if you're going for those camo grinds, and I've seen Zol tweet that he's gonna no life this, and I guess he will, because that guy I don't think he touches grass, but he's probably gonna be the first in CODZA to get it. And if there's anyone that gets it before him, please tweet him and say
I got it
you
first.
more than a no lifer.
Yeah, no, exactly,
All that,
exactly.
all that.
Well, on that topic, next week I'm going to be basically murdering myself. I have a 24-hour stream planned on Friday on the release. So
My mate.
we're gonna be trying our best. So we'll see how it goes.
Let's get it. And just as Strout said that, I am going to try something totally different this year with casting, or whenever I get to cast Call of Duty. I'm actually going to try or not try, I'm going to do it on TikTok. TikTok South Africa is mad. I think the engagement is crazy off the charts. And I don't see anyone doing it, so I think it would be something nice to test out and see how that goes. So I'm definitely going to be live on TikTok when the game drops and for future casting gigs. So we'll see when that happens, and hopefully there's a lot of them, Nick.
Please catch us all on TikTok. Delroy, what is your TikTok? For the good
My
people.
TikTok is exactly the same as my Twitter. Dallas ZA and just _ T.
Okay. You can
So
also get
we'll
me on
go
my
live
TikTok.
there.
It's Holden Time, by the way.
Holden
I
time.
like that. That's brilliant.
Dang, that's nice.
I don't have TikTok. I should probably look into it.
No, it's a
Yeah,
good platform.
it's a very good platform, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be looking into that in the future as soon as we close off here. But on that note, I think that's going to be all she wrote for us tonight.
Yeah.
And for anyone who missed it, the most important thing that everyone needs to understand from this is the fact that there is a meeting next week, Wednesday, 7:30, to talk about Rage.
No, 7.
7.
7.
7,
Seven.
not 7:30, sorry. 7 o'clock next week, Wednesday, to talk about Rage and Call of Duty. Everyone who knows
I didn't
anything.
say Rage. I said Call of Duty.
I heard Rage.
I'm great at keeping secrets.
I promise you, the internet is forever, and there was definitely Rage in that sentence.
I think it started with, do we need to save the date for Rage? And then it came back to, we need to talk about Call of Duty and what our possibilities are going forward.
Okay,
But
okay.
regardless,
Yeah. But I like
there
what Connor
is
said,
more
so
than
we'll go with that.
likely maybe a connection, but it really depends on the community.
Right.
There's no point doing something if it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So,
Let's show up. Let's show up and
hashtag let's show up.
Exactly. I like that. I
Yeah.
like it. Hashtag
get it.
CODZA and let's show up. We will see you all Wednesday in the ACGL server. Other than that, I think that's going to be it. Anyone else got anything else to say?
No?
No, just want to say thank you for having me on the cast, guys. I look up to you, literally. But it has been good. Thanks to everybody who tuned in, and yeah, that's all from my side.
And thank you for coming, man, Nick. We appreciate you
Yeah.
making the effort and talking to us. Like, it really is true. You are here for the community, and we want to show you that. And we're going to be there on Wednesday, and it wouldn't be possible without you, especially ACGL. You guys do the work. We love you all. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And we will see you very soon, like Wednesday soon.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Cheers.
Yeah. Let's
Cheers.
cheerio.